Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Giroux, and welcome to the Cold Front.
And I'm Sean Bailey. What we're going to talk about today is the weird record-setting weather that we've had over the past year so far, especially all the severe weather outbreaks, including Snowmageddon. That'll be the first one we really start to talk about. And if you remember, over February 1st and 2nd, over a foot of snow fell over Chicago and left the city into a panic, especially with Lakeshore Drive being pretty much shut down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was quite an interesting time period because everybody who knew anything about weather wanted to come to Chicago and witness Snowmageddon. One of the guys from the Weather Channel, who was it?
Jim
Jim
Cantore.
Cantore. Oh my goodness, that was a very interesting little segment he did. That was, we had thunder snow that weekend, and that was something that I've always wanted to witness, and of course Jim Cantore got the opportunity to do so. And if you remember, in his segment, there was a crack of thunder and some lightning that went through there, and he made a big deal about it. In fact, it was on last season's Cold Front too, I believe.
Yeah, it scared the bejesus out of him.
I don't buy that, but
the way he portrayed it on camera, he definitely was.
Well,
was intimidated
I think he's a pretty good actor.
Okay.
I don't see. Look, hey, the way I look at it is, I don't see how you can be in that kind of career and have not heard thunder. Now, I understand it's thunder snow, but it's not different. And I mean, it's just with snow.
It probably took him off guard because, I mean, when you have a snowstorm, you don't have convective
No.
nature. You don't have lightning with respect to snowstorms. So I think he wasn't really expecting it.
How can he not? Everybody was talking about, like, get ready for thunder snow. This will be awesome, thunder snow. And I see it. That's why I didn't buy it.
Oh, see, I don't know. I don't know if you really can predict the convective nature of this snowstorm of this magnitude. I think people were more focused on the outcome of the blizzard and just the mere amount of feet of snow we're going to be getting.
Absolutely.
So, and also the main thing that we were, what's the word I'm looking for? Wild card, that's what I'm looking for, was the lake effect. With the low being to our east, with the northerly flow over the lake, that could have contributed to a lot more lake effect, especially in places like Chesterton and Valparaiso. But that really didn't come to fruition, as we saw. Valpo didn't get as much snow as projected, and actually got less than places like Chicago and places along the coast, along Lake Michigan.
That was really disappointing for me, I know, because I was really looking forward to getting a lot of snow. And, lake effect has that ability to really make or be the game changer, like you said.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago when it was my sophomore year, would have been your freshman year. What was that, 2009?
2009, yeah.
Yeah, 2009. January of 2009, maybe February. That was when I was actually in first weathercasting, too.
Ooh.
And we were talking about, we could get, a couple inches out of this lake effect event, and then, bam, we got 20 inches overnight.
Yeah.
So lake effect has that potential to be the game changer, and it was then.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking to class. It was like a mice walking through a labyrinth or something. It was just amazing, because the night before, you could pretty much tell where the grass was. Afterwards, not so much at all.
And there's actually something else that I would like to point out because of that situation. Now, if we look at the way the university here treated that first lake effect snowfall when I was a sophomore versus how they treated some of the things like Snowmageddon, and there was another one in December too. I'll get to that in just a second. That first lake effect event, they canceled, I think they might have canceled morning classes, but that was it.
Yeah.
Because I remember I had to go to school, or I had class later in that day, and it didn't affect me because I didn't have class in the morning. I think that was like a Thursday or something.
Yeah, it was Thursday because I had my Calc 2 lab at 7:30 in the morning, and they didn't cancel the classes until after.
And they didn't cancel classes until, they canceled everything up until chapel break,
right.
Which is great. But you know what the problem was? I had to go to Gellerson later that day, and the biggest walkway from Gellerson to like Alumni or Brant and stuff, that was all covered in snow still. So people were trying to get through these two little tracks, and everybody's fighting. So when somebody's coming the other way, you have to step into that big snowbank. And I don't understand how they were able to close it, or how they weren't able to close at that time, but they were able to. I think they finally learned their lesson.
Yeah.
starting December actually. And that was the first time we had the big snowstorm.
Right, because they actually consulted the head of the meteorology department to talk about what the weather is going to be like, because we had a very good inkling as to what this event was going to be about. Like I said, the wild card was really the lake effect, but we knew that this storm was going to dump, and it was going to dump a lot of snow over our area. So it was good that they actually consulted. I mean, we have one of the finest meteorology programs in the country on campus. It's a great way to consult those kind of people.
Yeah.
I don't believe they really latched out or reached out to the meteorology department back in 2009, and that's kind of why we had that disorganized chaos with regards to school cancellations and the snow removal crew just not really being able to be prepared for that kind of event.
Yeah, you know, the first big system that we had this year, well, it was technically in 2010. It was late December or mid-December. It was the week of finals, and it would have been the first day of finals. And that first day, they did consult the meteorology department, but they didn't listen to them. And there was a lot of snow. There was a lot of problems. And I remember up and down US 30, that was all over the news. People couldn't get anywhere. People were stranded on US 30. They had to leave their cars in the middle of the road. I don't even know where they went, but that's, again, a completely different story. So the transition started once Snowmageddon came, and everybody started talking about Snowmageddon. And then the university kind of said, you know what, maybe we do need to take a step back and just kind of let everybody have a free day.
Yeah, I mean, it's better because we do have a lot of commuter students. We do have a lot of people from the area that come here. It's not just the people who live in Brant and alumni who just walk to class. There's a lot of people who drive, and I think they've kind of neglected to really take those people into account when they were preparing for something like this. So it's great that they consulted the meteorology department. And I mean, ultimately, Snowmageddon wasn't as bad as it could have been here, but I think the fact that we were really prepared for something like this shows that we're headed in the right direction with being prepared for severe and just record-breaking events in general with regards to weather.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I just wish we could have gotten that storm to move a little bit further to the south and east so we could have gotten into that thunder snow, but that's okay. So coming up, we're going to talk about the rest of the year's events, things like severe weather, that hot weather that we had over the summer, and now we don't even have a fall. We're just getting cold again. That's all coming up.
We're Facilities Management. We're on VUTV.
Yo, my name is Wes Strick, and I'm on VUTV.
We're Hooked on Tonics, and we're on VUTV.
I'm President Heckler, and I'm on VUTV.
I'm Connor Lott, and I'm on VUTV.
I'm Chris Kleinon Schultz, and I'm on VUTV.
I'm Jordan Lewis, and I'm on VUTV.
And welcome back to the Cold Front. Now we're going to switch gears and not focus on so much winter weather, as the severe weather that we had over the springtime really came in full force as we went into April and May. We had major tornado outbreaks, especially at the end of April 25th through the 28th, when we had tornadoes spin up in Alabama. And not only were they just tornadoes, they were major deadly tornadoes with, I mean, just huge amounts of wind and just all sorts of power coming through major cities. And that was the main reason why we had so many deaths associated with these kind of storms.
Yeah, you know, Tuscaloosa was interesting because it was a big event to happen, and it was in EF5. Is something that we really haven't seen in a while. It's something that doesn't happen very often, and when it does, absolutely it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, the last tornado, or EF5 tornado, was in 2008, so we had a 3-year hiatus without having a big one, and especially since the last one really just kind of went through cornfields.
Yeah, which is good, but it's not good enough because you don't ever want to see an EF5.
No,
no. But you know, with Tuscaloosa, when we saw, or at least when I saw Tuscaloosa on TV, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? No big deal, or well, not no big deal, but obviously this was a big situation. I hate to see what happened and everything. I never expected what was going to happen at Joplin.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 2 back-to-back, I don't want to say back-to-back, but 2 storms that were pretty close to each other, and they were very big in magnitude.
Yeah.
Now, even not to downgrade the Tuscaloosa tornado, because that was obviously big. In fact, I have a family member who is attending the University of Alabama there in
Oh my gosh.
Tuscaloosa. I didn't find out until after the tornado hit. I didn't know she was going there.
They had a tornado hit the university, I believe, too.
Yeah, well, what happened, from what I understand, was where she was living. The storm, or she was living in a house, I guess, and on the others, like behind her, on the other street, there were houses that were just completely swept away.
Wow.
And I guess it kind of did a little number on her, but I'm glad she's all right. She is all right, by the way, and.
That would do a number to anyone. I would never, as much as I love chasing storms and being a part of that kind of severe weather experience, I would never want to see something like that. And I feel like meteorologists kind of lately have been getting that rep of, oh, we just want to see all this severe weather. We don't want to see it. We want to forecast it and get people out of the way of those kind of storms. And really what we're trying to do is get knowledge from these storm chases. And I feel like people are now seeing that as like a form of publicity. I can be a storm chaser, be on TV, be cool, be chasing storms, adventurous kind of lifestyle. And really that's not what most of us are about. So I feel like that rep kind of needs to go away.
You know, I agree with you to some degree. Now, on the slight contrary, I don't want to totally go against you. I want to see severe weather.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it hurt people. I don't want
Exactly.
people in the path of this stuff, and I never want to see anybody get hit by an EF5 tornado. But with that being said, I agree with you in some respects because people have been using it as publicity, and it's certain shows that kind of glamorize being a storm chaser. And while that is fun and games, whatever, you know, that's
Yeah.
great, there's a lot of work and effort that goes into being a storm chaser, and there might be some people that, yes, do use it to their advantage as publicity, and I don't like that myself.
No. I feel like a lot of people, especially on the Discovery Channel, I mean, their main goal is to try and get information to people as to how to be prepared for these kind of storms. But I also feel like it inadvertently also can cause that kind of like, oh, that's so cool. And
Well, yeah, the last thing I want to happen because of shows like these is to see somebody go, well, they did it on TV, now I'm going to do that. And then you've got inexperienced chasers going out there and getting into the way of some things that they really need to stay away from.
yeah, because these are experts. I mean, when we go chasing with Valpo, we go with people who have been doing this for almost over a decade. They have so much experience under their belt. They have degrees, PhDs in meteorology. And those are the people that really are trying to get research and get information out of these storms. The people that are just in it for the thrill of it, not so much. They really just want to be cool on the news.
No, I can honestly tell you, from my standpoint, I could not go out by myself and chase. I just don't think it's right. And, you know, not that I don't maybe trust myself. I mean, I don't trust myself. But at the same time, I don't want to put myself in the wrong position.
Right.
But two, I don't have I don't have the experience, and I understand that. I know I don't have the experience. So if I'm going to go out, I need to make sure it's been somebody that's gone out before, and they're not looking to get themselves into trouble. They're not trying to get the big thing and try and get in the path of a tornado or the bear's cage, as there's certain aspects to it.
Which the bear's cage is really when you are basically trying to intercept a tornado while you're right next to it when all that heavy rain is coming on. And really, you don't want to be there because you can't see the tornado and it could just really wipe you out without you even really seeing it. So really, rain-wrapped tornadoes are pretty much the worst to come across in terms of storm chasing. And with regards to, again, the publicity and using people or storm chasing on TV, their goal is to try and get underneath the tornado. I feel like that is also not really a great way to go about studying tornadoes. Granted, it is nearly impossible to get camera footage or anything from inside a tornado because really it's just a cluster, a mess of chaos inside one of those things. You have people's houses flying around, you have cows, you have all sorts of things just in that thing. So in terms of getting a camera underneath that, it would just be blown away. But I respect that they're trying to get that footage, but I feel like it's not for scientific purposes. It's more for the glory of, oh, I got the first shot inside a tornado.
No, I totally agree with you on that one, and I obviously don't want to see people put their lives in danger, experienced or not. You know, because some of these people who have been experienced at this, and they do, you know, they seem smart and everything, and they put themselves in bad positions, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, it boggles my mind too that someone would be that willing to risk their lives just to be on TV. I mean,
well, it might be some of that might be TV, but some of that might be some cash too.
True. Yeah, I could definitely see some people can be bought.
Now, something that we really need to talk about
Yeah.
is obviously the Joplin tornado.
Oh yes.
The Joplin tornado obviously is the worst tornado to have hit basically anywhere and cause over. It's the first tornado for a fact to hit to cause over 100 deaths since what 1953.
1953 when it moved.
Yeah, the Flint Beecher tornado.
Yep. And keep in mind, Tuscaloosa was part of over 336 confirmed tornadoes that touched down over the course of Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, mainly northern Alabama, Georgia, and Virginia. So that was part of an outbreak. And granted, you had 4 EF5s associated with that storm. Joplin was one single tornado that tore through this town. So keep in mind the just sheer force of these kind of storms, and just don't take them for granted because they are deadly.
No, absolutely. And I can honestly say, you know, as great as it was to see some of this stuff on TV, again, it's something you just don't want to happen. And
Right.
Joplin was definitely a scary day because I don't want to see that many people ever killed. I don't want to see people ever injured or property destroyed. But it's a testament to something that we really need to focus on, and that's the safety of everybody. Warnings, extremely important.
Yeah, and I think they've done a really good job so far of jumping onto these warnings and really, I mean, the Weather Channel's coverage, I personally don't like the Weather Channel as much because I feel like they're not as local as a lot of stations are, and I feel like that's the kind of medium that really gets weather across best. But I applaud them for the coverage that they did both with the Tuscaloosa system as well as the one in Joplin, because they were wall-to-wall coverage from the very first time they even had a hint that this storm could do something on that magnitude. And I still don't even think they prepared. I mean, no one could have prepared for the amount of outcome. I mean, 25% of Joplin was completely destroyed by this tornado. So it wasn't like it just skirted the outskirts. It drove through part of the city. And also with respect to the warnings, 14% of people that died within Joplin, the Joplin tornado, were in their vehicles at the time, which is definitely probably the worst place to be during a tornado outbreak, because really it's basically like a 5-year-old picking up a toy car and throwing it, is basically what is going to happen when you have an EF5 come in contact with a vehicle. So really heed these warnings.
You know, Sean brings up a great point. Don't be in your car during a severe thunderstorm. Well, a severe thunderstorm, no, don't be in your car during a severe thunderstorm. Let's put it to you that way. But another big part to remember is when you're feeling threatened by severe weather, or not even when you're feeling threatened, when there is severe weather, you need to get inside. Get inside a sturdy building, get inside somewhere safe in the center of that building where you're much less likely to get injured or have things fly through, and make sure you're on the bottom floor of that, be it a basement or the ground floor, whatever. But another important factor that you mentioned with the cars is if you're on the highway and you see a tornado or there's some big gust of wind, don't go underneath an overpass. Overpasses don't protect you from that wind. In fact, they actually work to increase the speed as the wind is actually going through the tunnel, and it kind of just concentrates the flow. So do not go underneath an overpass. That is very important.
Yeah, and that's a very common misconception. Also, if you should be taking every second that you can to prepare for this storm if you hear of a warning. That means don't waste time opening up all the windows.
No.
There is no such thing as your windows are going to explode because of the pressure difference. A lot of people will, when they hear tornado warning, go and run and open up all the windows. not a good idea to do that, because it's just wasting valuable time that you could be getting the kids underneath the storm stellar, getting batteries, getting a flashlight, which granted you should have already prepared for an event like this, especially when, severe weather is commonplace, especially in early spring. So definitely be prepared, but don't waste your time with opening your windows or anything of that nature.
No, I agree. And when going along with the storm preparedness kit, everybody should have some sort of kit, be it, just with basic things, okay? We're talking about flashlights, batteries for the flashlights, make sure they're the right size. That's important, you want a radio that you can listen to for updates on what the storm's doing, where there's damage, and whether or not it's safe to come out of wherever you are. And you want to make sure that radio is battery powered as well. You want to have batteries for that, correct batteries for that. Water is always a big, you want water, non-perishable food, and you know what? It couldn't hurt to have blankets and a pillow either.
Yeah. Also, in addition to that, a first aid kit. In case you have something happen, first aid is always going to be needed. And also, if you want, there's also NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has radios specifically for severe weather events, be it hurricane, tornado, whichever natural disaster floats in your area. Look into getting one of those, because those really can help save your life.
Absolutely.
And I mean, today we have all these iPhone apps and such, but really the NOAA weather radio is specifically designed just for events like this. And with the cell phone towers being knocked out, radar was knocked out in Tuscaloosa. If that kind of communication gets blocked out, you'll still have the radio. So I would strongly recommend getting a NOAA weather radio for that.
No, the weather radios are great, especially because, something you might not always think about is weather happens at night too. So when you're sleeping, this weather radio can alert you, and it's a loud noise. Believe me, I've heard them before, and it'll be enough to wake you up, and you can get yourself to safety, because the quicker you've got that warning, the more likely you are, or the more safe you can be, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so definitely be prepared for these kind of events. And we'll head to break right now, but when we come back, we'll talk about the hot weather. So we're going from severe to heat. Stay tuned.
I'm Will Scheller, and I'm on VUTV.
We're off trial, and we're on VUTV.
I'm Nick Lindeke, and I'm on VUTV.
I'm Mitch Dunham, and I'm on VUTV.
Hello, I am Jeremy Kaywood, and I'm on VUTV.
We're Sigma Phi Epsilon, and we're on VUTV. We are on VUTV.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Cold Front. It is time to get hot and sticky. We're talking about that hot summer that we had, and could you believe it? It was pretty nasty. A lot of that had to do with the pattern we were sitting under. It was a massive ridge, and basically it just drew the heat from the south and brought it all the way to Canada even.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that hot, dry heat. It was, from the desert, it was moist too. It was humid. We had dew points for days in the 70s, and really when we talk about dew point, when you're above 65, it really starts to feel that uncomfortable, sticky, muggy ughness that we really don't want to see. It's not very pleasant outside when it's above 65. So the fact that it was even above 70 was
I learned something very important this summer.
What?
I don't want to live in the South. Now, it's nothing against anybody that lives down there or anything, but I couldn't stand this heat, and I need my seasons. I'm a snow fan, and I hate rain too. So this summer was pretty unfortunate for me. I was happy with the above 85 degree days, but once it got above 90, 95, that's when it started getting intolerable.
See, I'm the opposite. I really like heat, and I really don't care for so much in this way of seasons. So it's interesting that you say that, but this past summer has really just been unbearable for even people like me who really like heat and tropical kind of weather, but it just went on for too long. I was like, can it snow already?
But you know what's funny too? On the opposite end of this spectrum if you look at places like on the West Coast, like San Diego, for instance, and I'm going to use San Diego as an example because I just talked to somebody from there over the weekend. San Diego, they didn't have much of a summer. They were mostly cool for the summer, and that was because of the way the ridge was positioned. They were actually situated in the trough, so they had a bunch of cold air coming down for them, and they didn't get to see much of that, unfortunately. And I know she was kind of upset that she didn't get to see a summer, especially living on the ocean like that.
Yeah, I would. Well, also you have that maritime influence too, which kind of, when you're along the ocean, it really acts to kind of moderate your temperatures. You don't really go from 100 to 60 in the period of a day. You kind of stay relatively mediocre in terms of temperatures throughout much of the beach. But yeah, it was unbearable everywhere else though.
It was, but you know what too? Now we've made we didn't transition at all. We just made a drastic change. Somebody decided they were going to flip the switch and they weren't going to kind of fade us into the fall. They just went BAM! And now it's a lot colder, and we had that cutoff low sitting on top of us for over a week.
Yeah,
and it's just like, make it stop.
We went from, okay, so let's even go back further. We went from Snowmageddon, where we had inches and feet of snow. Then we went to tornadoes. And then we all of a sudden went to just this unbearable heat that started, May? I mean, the ridge really started to set in over May. And then continuing that, we just jumped into September. It's like, oh, we're going to have a cutoff low and be more like Seattle over here. And I mean, temperatures, for the most part, haven't even topped barely into the 70s. And we've been sitting pretty much 10 degrees below normal over the past week because this low has just sat over us and rained on us for days.
Yeah, we actually, while this, like even just before this cutoff low and then during that cutoff low, we didn't have a 70-degree temperature for about 9 days.
Yeah, and we still don't even have a 70 predicted in the next few days. We could actually maybe scoot up to 70, but really that's if that sunshine really gets to get through, because really the clouds have been the main cause of why we haven't been able to warm up as much, in addition to the low just kind of sitting over. Also, fun fact as well, we are just about 9 inches away from having the wettest record, or wettest year on record for the Chicagoland area, thanks to, in large part to this cutoff low just dumping consistent amount of rain. I mean, it hasn't dumped like 5 inches at a time, but over the course of the past few weeks, it's really just given us a lot of moisture.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's very unfortunate. And I guess that kind of makes 2011 the year of no transitions. We didn't have a fall. Well, we still have an opportunity to have a fall, but we definitely didn't have a spring.
Nope.
We went from cold to hot. And now we're going from hot to a little bit chilly. Yeah. So that's something we're going to have to keep our eye on as we go into the winter. And now I'm interested to see what our winter is going to be like, because after this year of wacky weather, I don't know how it's going to turn out.
I don't even want to think. I just want to be surprised, because I know I'm going to be surprised by what.
That's okay. I'm okay with it. We're going to have fun with it. And until next time, folks, see you later. For the Cold Front, I'm Dan Giroux.
And I'm Sean Bailey. Have a great night.